Welcome to the Youngblood podcast. My name is Joshua Clifton, and we get to sit here with my friend, Hannah Lee. What's up?
Hello.
All right.
Not too much.
Man, we've been, so me and the guys, to be honest with you, we've been talking for some time about getting you up here so we could hear your story. We knew that you were working on some stuff and a new record, Blue Bonnets, and we'll get to that. But I do want to point to it, and a link to that record on all platforms will be in the show notes. But welcome to the Youngblood podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, why don't you give everyone a little intro to who you are before we dive in deep? Maybe a brief synopsis of maybe where you're from and what you're trying to do artist-wise.
Yeah. Well, my name is Hannah Lee. I am a singer-songwriter and actor. I grew up in the North Texas area, North Dallas, actually very close to here.
Nice.
In Murphy was where I spent
Murphy, Texas.
all my awkward years, so that's home.
Those awkward years are so important.
They are
We'll
so
get there.
important.
We'll get there.
Oh, yes. I'm still probably in mine, but
we all
it's
are.
fine.
All the good ones are still, right?
Yeah, yes. I moved to LA when I was 18 to pursue acting and music. And, developed a debilitating anxiety disorder and dropped it all.
Awesome.
Got married really young and then had kids really young. And then I think having kids helped me realize how much I still wanted to do and how much work I needed to do on myself. So art and motherhood for me have been kind of the big part of my journey. I'm giving a way too broad definition
we're
of
going
who
to dive
I am.
in. No, we're going to dive in. That's great. Well, I came to know about you by listening to your record over the last couple weeks, and we're going to dive into that, I think, today. And now, if you're just joining us for the first time, the Youngblood podcast likes to shine light on the journey of artists that inspires today. So what was the first time we've all taken in art, whether you're talking about music, movies, theater? What do you remember that moment in your life where you might have made that step into, I think I want to try this?
Yeah.
Do you remember that moment? Or was it a specific
Yes.
piece of art? Was it a person?
Yes. For me, it was a musical. It was Les Miserables.
Oh,
And you gotta
such
say
a
with a French
good one.
accent. I was in a production of Les Mis when I was 8.
That's great.
I got to play Little Cosette in
Nice.
the local high school's production. I was living in Missouri at the time. And I got to play Little Cosette.
That's
and
great.
I was like, oh,
I
this
like
is
this.
what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like
Yeah.
be on a stage and sing and tell stories. And I mean, Les Mis especially is such a,
Work of art.
it is like such a redemptive story, and I am very drawn to redemptive stories. And so musical theater for me was the first thing that was ever like, oh yeah, they are speaking my language here. Well, I knew I wanted to be a singer. I knew I wanted to be an artist of some
Right.
sort. I did a lot of just different creative things, but I grew up in a very athletic family that did a lot of sports. So my older brother played select baseball. My dad had played college baseball. My mom was like a cheerleader all through high school and stuff. Anyway, so they didn't really know what to make of my artistic side. I was kind of like, just like sort of a one-off within my family. And then my younger brother is an actor as well. And so he and I both were kind of like a team in the midst of that. And not that my parents weren't supportive. They just didn't know the world as much. But I just, I was loud. I made a lot of noise. So they were like, what is a way that we could make this be something productive and not just like, oh my gosh, she won't stop talking. I always got in trouble.
She's performing for us all the time.
Yeah.
I get it.
There was a rule when I was growing up, like there was no singing at the dinner table. I was not allowed to sing at the dinner table.
You got rules made in the house
because I sang too
that's
much.
So good. That's so good.
Anyway, but so I always did music and stuff, and then I did band and when I was in 6th grade, and I got sent to ISS in school suspension because I wouldn't stop humming in class in band, which apparently wasn't cool, and so I just got in trouble a lot because I couldn't, I don't know, control
your love for
my love for being loud.
Isn't that something? It was like Indian. It had to come out.
Yes.
That's so cool.
Yeah. I mean, this is something I explore a lot in the album, but I've always felt like I was a lot, and I was told often that I was a lot. And so, that's became a chip on my shoulder, like into teenager years and adulthood. But I really fell into songwriting, I would say when I was about 14.
Okay.
And that's when I picked up a guitar for the first time. And I had always loved creative writing, and I loved stories, and I love any kind of storytelling. But songwriting really started for me in the 9th grade. And then from there, the love for musical theater and the love for singer-songwriter stuff kind of were parallel and just equal.
Well, I'll tell you, listening to your record, it's clear that you're a storyteller, and a very good one at that.
Thank you.
I feel like there are a lot of moments where, I mean, it might be naive or ignorant for me to say this. I don't know if I'm necessarily your target market for what you were trying to put out. Why not, though, right? But so I'm sorry, but I could connect with a lot of what you were saying, and that's what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. And a lot of it was, I felt like you had a lot to say, and you knew you had a very unique and really cool way of saying it. And I feel like, I mean, we don't normally do this, but I want to talk about the production a little bit. I feel like the production was phenomenal in some of the ways it helped you tell the story. And so, and we can talk about specific songs later, or if we end up start talking, there's a specific song you want to unpack because it coincides with your story, feel free to. But in between like 8 and 14, you said you started playing guitar in 14. There was probably a lot of trying to discover the acting side of yourself, and you found your voice from the get-go with being such a masterpiece of a play starting off. But was that kind of your intro into kind of finding your vocal chops a little bit?
Musical theater?
Yeah,
probably. I mean, I did plays, and that really helped me, again, have an outlet for being the loudest one in the room. And then I started singing. I joined choir in 7th grade, and all of my choir teachers I've ever had greatly disliked me. Also because I just have a hard time following the rules and staying put. ADHD, undiagnosed as a girl. Girls don't get diagnosed with ADHD prior to the year 2015. So
yeah, it's probably. I mean,
is
that true? Is that kind of true? Probably. I don't know.
Not to overstate things, but
that
probably.
That sounds like it could be pretty true if I think about it.
ADHD in boys was studied. So basically, the trademark symptoms of ADHD are kind of like how they tended to play out for hyperactive boys. So girls who had ADHD were kind of dismissed.
Wow.
Or like nobody thought I did because I had good grades. So they're like, oh, you can't have ADHD. You have good grades. And I was like,
sorry, I'm great at managing things well too.
Sorry, my learning style is auditory, and all of these classes are lecture based.
That's great.
But no.
Well, so in 14 years old, you picked up a guitar.
Yes.
Do you mind me asking maybe what was influencing you maybe out there that made you go, I want to pick up that guitar and try to do that?
Well, this is such a dorky story, but I do remember in the 9th grade, there was this boy that I had a crush on. A lot of my stories start with a boy I had a crush on. But he played guitar, And I thought that was really cool. And then I was like, you know what would be cooler? If I played guitar.
Yes.
And so I kind of learned because I wanted to be cooler than this boy that I liked.
Right.
But then it became like such a wonderful outlet for me, and being able to accompany myself was so helpful. You know, and I started singing at coffee shops. Musical influences. Well, I can't not speak about this little artist you may have heard of called Taylor Swift.
Right.
Because that was around the time that Tim McGraw had just come out. And so her debut was like charting and Teardrops on My Guitar to a 14-year-old. I can't even tell you. When I was 14, I feel like Love Story. It may have been Fearless. Yeah, Taylor Swift was a big influence. Also, A Fine Frenzy.
Yeah.
Alison Sudol. Her stuff, Regina Spektor,
so good.
Ingrid Michaelson, you know, all the girls that sing like this.
Yeah,
like, I love all of them so much.
Yeah, but why did we like that so much?
Oh my
gosh,
so they're
cool.
Like Regina Spektor,
so good.
Like Fidelity to this day is
Put
one of my
records on. I listen.
Oh,
I jam
Corinne
that.
Bailey Rae,
Kaylee Ray Bay, or that's right, Kaylee Ray Bay, right?
Corinne Bailey Rae sings
that's it.
Put the records on. Regina Spektor sings Fidelity, which is one that's
which
like,
one's
breaks
that one?
my heart.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I get those two songs and those two artists mixed up for some reason, but both of them are so good.
They're both amazing.
And they're both in that same kind of
like
that
like indie girl.
Indie pop girl that I'm a sucker for.
Oh,
golly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like to this day, there's still a lot of what I listen to is those women, and like they just really, it was so fun to. I mean, John Foreman from Switchfoot was a huge influence.
Talk about great songwriters.
Oh yeah, I also need to say, so I grew up in a very Christian household, you know, and so I didn't know that pop music existed until the year 2006.
Okay, hold on a second. Let's unpack this for a second, because pop music, when you say pop music,
yes,
I
mean something other than like country.
You listen to oldies.
I listen to country.
Okay, country.
And Christian music.
Okay, so when you say Christian music, give me a few examples, please, because this is bad.
Our hard hitters. We got Michael W. Smith.
Dubs, yeah.
You know, and in 2005, like Barlow Girl.
Oh my gosh,
good.
Barlow Girl.
You know, we had all the like Jackie Velasquez. Was a huge deal to me. Like that was my first CD.
Did you ever listen to her on the radio?
Oh yeah. Her first. I like that first CD was so good. So Christian music was like most of what I grew up listening to. Bebo Norman, you know, all of the stuff that was on like CCM radio at the time.
Oh, that stuff's so good though.
It is. And honestly, like,
I know it's not cool. When we look back, it doesn't seem as cool. I love those eras though.
Oh yeah. I mean, Rich Mullins like
is a badass.
Like what is the line in Awesome God of like when he rolls up, he's not putting on the Ritz? And I'm like, I love that was like
there's
Christian
thunder in his footsteps and lightning in his fist.
Yeah.
That's what he says right after that.
Awesome God. I'm just like, yes.
Dude, was so cool.
Yes. And so I grew up, you know, with that.
We need more songs like that. I want to bring back Awesome God. Let's do that.
Actually, there was a church that covered it recently and did it really well. Anyways, so I've always loved spiritual music. And then my dad was a country guy, and so like Sammy Kershaw,
heck yeah,
Alan Jackson, you know, even Toby Keith, rest in peace, and you know, like just a lot of white boy country was. I
like that stuff.
Was what I grew up on, and then in 2006 I went to a public middle school and discovered Akon, and I was like, I really like this too.
What a weird.
I remember the year that Don't Matter came out, and I was like, this is such a cool song. Oh my gosh. So it was like Akon, Sammy Kershaw, Bebo Norman, and the Wicked soundtrack. That was so my iPod.
That is so good. But that's kind of cool. All those songs.
And then I got all the cool indie girls that came as I got older.
Yeah. Well, all those that you name are gonna be on a playlist in the show notes.
Oh gosh.
It's gonna have your name next to it, like
yeah,
and it'll have your stuff in it too. So wherever you get your medicine, it'll be there.
It's going to
Spotify,
be like Jars
iTunes.
of Clay and
Yes!
Hannah
Jars of Clay is so good.
There's
that was one of the first records I bought and I thought was cool, and my parents were cool with me listening to it. I remember it wasn't an album I had to sneak.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
the reason, sorry, I just interrupted
you.
I
love this.
Similar, like parents. Also my parents are the best. I should just say that.
Totally. It might sound like we're dogging this. I don't look back at that.
I love the music I grew up with.
I listen to Carmen. I listen to Carmen. That's how old school and the Christian thing.
I mean, I had a Keith Green phase.
Keith Green's awesome.
That guy.
So
gone
cool.
too soon, for sure.
For sure. Yeah. You Put This Love in My Heart. Such a good song. Sorry. Creating Me a Clean Heart. Come on.
All of it. That guy did not hold back punches.
No.
I'll tell you that.
And that's what's so cool.
Yes. I was gonna say Switchfoot was so huge for me. Like that was when John Foreman introduced me to entropy as a concept, and there's so like John Foreman's writing was very, very big.
We could spend the next hour talking about Switchfoot if you want. Okay.
Would be totally
I just want to let you know how much I love Switchfoot. But I will tell you, it all spawned from one record in particular for me. What was the entry for you in Switchfoot?
Well, my intro was A Walk to Remember, starring Shane West and Mandy Moore. So that album, that soundtrack is so good. Yeah. Which then led to The Beautiful Letdown, which I got to see them.
It's The Beautiful Letdown.
Retour it. Yeah. That is one of my top 5 all time.
Has to be. Yeah. Has to be. I'll tell you, when it comes to, I did listen to I started listening to them whenever they had Kim 6A. It was off one of their first records. And it was like, bum, 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 I'll watch the movie. Had you never heard this song?
Is that the red one with the fingerprint?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Or something. It's like their first one.
I knew Learning to Breathe. I didn't.
Yeah. It was one
Legend
before
of
that.
Chin?
Yes, Legend of Chin. That's right.
Okay.
That's right. That's right. Man, I can't believe I forgot about the name of that record. Man, so much information has gone through this brain. But that Switchfoot, that Beautiful Letdown record is a perfect record.
It is, objectively.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
But even John Foreman's solo stuff, when he would do the what was the Seasons EPs or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
So good, right?
Your love is strong. Oh my gosh, all of those.
He's just a masterful songwriter.
Oh, he is.
And he's got one of the best hearts, I think. You know?
Oh yeah. He's GOAT for me.
All those guys are just one in a million.
Yeah, I got to see them on the 20-year tour for Beautiful Letdown last year, and I was just like,
I wanted to go to that.
Inner child healed.
Sure.
Actually, I got to see Taylor Swift, Maggie Rogers, Paper Kites, and Switchfoot all last year, and I was like, this is a real good year for me in concerts.
That's good.
I was gonna say though, there's do you know who Twyla Tharp is?
I do.
Yeah. So her book, one of the things that I loved in The Creative Habit, I think.
Yeah.
The Creative Habit. She talks about the word life in terms of art and creation, and so she talks about the 2 different words in Greek that are used for life, and one being zoe and one being bios. So zoe being this idea of like a very macro view of life, like everything's a cycle, and like you know, a very, very big life is ongoing, and like we're all part of one thing. Anyway, that's the idea of zoe. And then there's bios, which is more like focusing on one element within the story. There's a beginning, middle, and end. And so when I look back at like my influences, I see John Foreman very much in the zoe kind of songwriting, and then like Taylor Swift and these other country artists much more in the bios phase. So I definitely grew up with both of those influences. And Twyla Tharp has this whole theory that like you kind of tend to gravitate more toward one than another within the art that you create.
I could see what you're saying there too. Like one has maybe more global influence on you, I guess. Is that do you feel like that's what you're saying?
I definitely gravitate more toward bios personally. Like I think small scale stories that reveal bigger truths are very powerful to me. And that's another reason I love musicals is because they're telling a specific story, but it's not just that story, it's all of the stories.
All stories,
you know, everything.
I get what you're saying.
Anyways.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, Switchfoot, thank you. If you ever see any of you guys see this, thank you for all you do.
We love you so much. 11-year-old me listening to the Nothing Is Sound record and just like feeling everything.
Yeah.
On my childhood bedroom floor with my Beanie Babies.
Yeah.
Being like, yeah, happy is a yuppie word. The shadow proves the sunshine.
That's so good. That's good. So that was right around 14. You're listening to. You're starting to play.
Yes.
You're starting to create your own music. You start writing your own music?
Yes, I started writing my own music, and I had like a regular set at a local coffee shop that I played at.
That's awesome.
Cafe Bohemia.
That's great.
Right by Plano East Senior High.
I think I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there one time when I first moved here, I think.
And it's a cool vibe.
Yeah.
Hey Evie, if you're watching this, I know she still follows me. She runs it. Anyway.
That's so cool. I remember going in there and the vibe was great.
Great vibes.
There. It was such a community in there.
And little old me at 14 and 15, like playing with just my friends from choir, and we would just sing all the songs we wrote that week and look up guitar charts on Ultimate Guitar, and
that's awesome.
Print them out.
That was your cavern club. That was the Beatles.
Oh yeah.
The Beatles spent in Germany, and they would play every day.
They played every day. Yeah.
That was your the Bohemian Cafe was your cafe.
Cafe Bohemia.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm so sorry, Evie. What were some of the songs you would cover? Those, I guess, Switchfoot.
Yeah.
You would cover.
I would cover Switchfoot. I'd cover Taylor, cover Regina.
Mm-hmm.
I would do some oldies. My dad, in addition to his white boy country, also loved like the Smiths, and so I had some love for Morrissey in there. So I played.
This episode just got so much cooler. like the moment you said the Smiths, people were like, someone were around the corner going, all right, wait, what podcast is this?
Yeah.
They were like, I'll listen now.
I'll just say Girlfriend in a Coma.
Yeah.
Hits every time.
Yeah. So
I would just play like a lot of 80s stuff too, and Alone by Heart, I remember was one I loved to do, and just honestly anything. Like no music was off the table for me. I did a cover of Heartless by Kanye West.
Oh, that's awesome.
I did.
Did you release any of these?
Umbrella by Rihanna. I did them all on YouTube.
Nice. Are they
Actually,
still
I don't know
up?
if I ever did. No.
Okay. Sorry, you missed out. We all missed
out.
They
exist, but they will not be seeing
maybe if you ask enough.
No, I've already. So I did YouTube for a while. And
okay.
So I have a bit of a following, kind of still from my YouTube channel.
Nice.
So back late teens, early 20s did YouTube.
Nice.
Kind of a lot.
Man, that was something I think a lot of us go, I think I could do YouTube, but none of us. I don't know. It takes a certain unique set of skills, I think, to master. It's daunting to some of us. And I think, I mean that in the most respectful way. I think it just takes a certain unique person to be able to really understand how to play that game well.
Yeah.
Am I wrong in assuming that?
No, you're not. I did it for a while, and honestly, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And I was like doing weekly uploads for a little bit, and like it coincided with some just like really challenging things in life at the time. But it's a lot, and it's hard because you aren't necessarily doing the songs you want to do. You're doing the songs, at least at the time that I was doing it, which was like around like 2014, 2015. It's like you're doing the songs that are charting, that have just been released. So it's like you may not care about it at all. You just gotta be the first one to do it. And so it's and like so hats all the way off to the incredible artists and musicians on YouTube that are doing that, because it's so hard.
And it's impressive. They're so good. There's so many good people out there.
And it's hard because their audience doesn't really want to hear their music, which is frustrating. And I get frustrated for them, because if you look at like their views, like their covers have millions of views and their original releases have like 200,000. And I'm like, that's not fair.
I get it.
You know?
I get it. Yeah. That's always been, I get that chip on the shoulder you get whenever you're like, why can't you like my stuff as much as you? I don't mind doing. I too like House of the Rising Sun. And I do like to hear my cover of it too. But also, I had this song I put my heart and soul in. Maybe you could like that too. I mean, like that's the artist side of you going like, I mean, I could be one of those two guys, please. You know,
yeah.
right? I mean, honestly.
And honestly, all the people that are like making those videos consistently, the talent's there.
Right.
And it's just, it becomes because of like, you know, if you have a team behind you, you know, if it's about numbers or whatever, like it tends to just not have as much wiggle room as you'd think.
That being said, thanks for every single one of you that have like, I feel like I'm so blessed to have the people that believe in me too. Like, I don't want to act like they're not enough. I appreciate it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
And the support that I still have from those videos that I put out in my early years, like some of just the sweetest people who continue to like tell me like what those videos meant to them. And like, and I hate that I took them down to like, I wish I could just like hand them to those people if I could, but there are just like some things that just didn't feel like it aligned with the direction I wanted to go moving forward, so I did have to pull some of those.
I could see that, especially if you're trying to
especially if it's a video you made when you were 16 and you're like, you know what I didn't know when I was 16? Everything.
Right. And you know what I'm going to think about myself now in 10 years, that I didn't know anything either. You know what I mean? Isn't that crazy to think? Because right now I feel like I'm finally getting maybe some bearing on some things, you know what I mean? But then you go, oh man, I thought that 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know? Golly.
What was your YouTube? Like, what was your thing that you're like, I did it, I'm proud that I did it, but also kind of had to remove myself?
It would be getting signed to a legitimate record label. That was always, that mattered to me for some reason. Yeah. Like, we had several really, thanks for asking me a question, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
There were several moments with a couple bands. I was in a band called Forgetting Paris. There were several times. It was like an emo band, and I was the lead singer. And there was a couple times that would happen where it seemed like this label, Warner Brothers, was one time interested in like these big bands, and we thought we're gonna make it, right? And then it just never happened. And I realized later on that, like, yeah, one person from that company probably liked us, but like 20 other people have to like you too before the XYZ happens or this or that. And so that was usually, I grew up thinking I was going to be the next Beatles, the next Nirvana, the next whatever, you know, you think you're good enough to do that. And that was, so actually signing an actual real contract, even though it wasn't this glamorous thing on top of Capitol Records like Led Zeppelin did one time, you know, or something like that. To me, that was it. I was like, okay, there's nothing else. I can look back and go, I did that. And it took other people believing in me and saying, he's good enough to be a part of it. Part of that same, I'm nostalgic when it comes to art and when it comes to music. Like anytime we'd go on tour, I'd get teary-eyed whenever I'd get on the road. When we were officially on the highway, I'd go, all right, we're doing it. The same roads that Johnny Cash and I mean, Radiohead or the Beatles or all the giants that we loved, Carly Simon, Dusty Springfield, all of them, Aretha Franklin. Golly, just so all of them took those same roads and those same exits and ate the same crappy gas station food. Because they believed that they had something to say. And so whenever I signed that contract, I felt like, okay, I'm a part of that club now. And I felt cool about that.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's
also, it's not crazy because like everybody is everybody's delusional until it happens. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so to have that desire, I don't think is insane. I think it's lovely.
I love it when I don't know why it feels sometimes wrong to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Because I get so excited whenever I meet someone. That's what this is. Whenever I meet someone that I want to have a conversation with, because I felt like they bet on themselves and they won a little bit, enough to tell me about it right now, or they're in the process, or I mean, at the very least, I think they're on the process of winning. And learning how to believe in themselves, and maybe I could be a footnote in that. I could be a part of that gasoline on that fire. Yeah. So I like those conversations. And we talked earlier about, I don't know if we said it when we hit record or not, but I love people. I love people.
Me too.
And you know, I used to be one of those guys that like maybe, I mean, if you dug enough, I probably said it, or said some version of this. I hate people, like on social media or whatever. And I'd get so many people that would like it and this or agree. And yeah, sometimes people can be the worst. They definitely can be the worst, right? I mean, like, gosh, but I can be the worst. But I really do like when we all end up betting on each other, that whatever that feeling is of betting and winning together.
Yeah.
That's the best feeling.
Oh, yeah.
That's always the best feeling.
Yeah. It reminds me of my song Horse Girl.
Heck yeah. What a great song.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Talk
you.
about that.
Yeah. Well, Horse Girl is a song about the pain of putting yourself out there and facing rejection, which for anybody who goes for it, like, it hurts.
It does.
A lot. And it's just like, and there's bizarro, I don't know, just like ticking clock for all of us as artists as we age, of just like, oh, if it doesn't happen while you're young and cute, then it's never gonna happen. And maybe that's especially for women, but I'm sure guys feel that too.
I felt like you touched a lot about that concept a little bit in a couple of your songs, right?
Yeah, I do.
Like reruns, I feel like you do that.
Reruns, I talk about it. RSD, but that's on my previous project. But that was a song I released right before I started working on this. So Horse Girl is a song that I started writing after I made a fool of myself at a dance call.
Awesome.
For a musical. I have horrible audition anxiety. Like, there's nothing that I hate more in this world than going on auditions. But unfortunately, in order to do the thing I love the most, which is perform, I have to do auditions. Right. But it's just like the peak vulnerability experience for me, and it triggers my anxiety like crazy. And so I just I never feel like I'm able to perform what I know I'm capable of in callbacks or whatever. Right. Anyway, so I always just feel like some like bizarro version of myself, like just watching from the clouds and like, what are you doing? You're being so weird right now. Like that's.
And you're asking, am I acting normal? Is this normal? Is this how I normally would act?
Yeah, it's just like me in a fugue state. And then, no. So anyway, it was like one of those moments of just like replaying it over and over and over and just being like, this is so mortifying. Like, I'm so embarrassed. And then my husband, I was talking to him and I was just like, babe, like I made such an idiot of myself. He's like, you need to honor the girl that you were when you came home from that callback, because you were really proud of yourself.
Heck yeah.
And I'm really proud of her. And I was like, dang, like that was so sexy. That's babe.
Good. Yeah. So good.
It was such a good word, and I was like, that like just hit home, because like when I look at the people I love, when I look at my daughter, when she puts herself out there, or when my girlfriends put themselves out there, or just friends, like when they try really hard at something, like, gosh, that takes so much courage, and I want to honor that, and it's easier for me to honor it in other people than it is to honor it in myself for whatever reason. And so
I don't know what that is. That sucks.
It's a weird form of pride, I think.
It is, because you believe in yourself enough to get yourself there, and do the thing, and you think you whatever wherever you land on the spectrum of you think you did well, or man, I really did poorly, but you came prepared, right? We beat ourselves up so many different ways after we do those things, right? And we just have so much grace for other people. We believe in other people so much, but what is that? But
a form of resistance.
I guess it's part of it though.
Yeah.
It's part of it. It needs to be there. Yeah. There's a reason it's there.
Yes.
There's a reason why auditions suck and you have to get through them.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, yeah. And that, like,
at least for a season anyway.
Yeah. Until I'm big enough that everybody just wants to call me.
That's right. The biggest podcast in the world. Bam, bam, bam. Yeah, that's right.
Is that Josh Clifton from the YOUNGBLOOD podcast? Get that man a Topo Chico sponsor.
No, please. We'll count the birds.
Yes. Well, and the reason I decided to call it Horse Girl was because I think the concept of a horse girl is just so funny.
But I got it. You named it that, and I go, it makes sense.
Yeah, horse girls are earnest, and they kind of DJF, like, about if they're prancing at recess, what about it? Like, I love it. Like, I just have so much respect for anybody who loves something with so much enthusiasm that they do not care what other people think. And so that hook became, hold on to your horses, girl.
Right.
Like, hold on, stay the course. You're going to be all right. And so really that song is a song to my daughter, but it's also a song to me when I was 20 and going out to all these auditions and getting my heart broken and just like, just that constant, you're not enough. Like, no, you're not the right look. No, like your read was a little weird. Right. You should go back to college. Did hear that once at an audition.
Right.
Yeah.
The whole you're just not what we're looking for right now hurts a lot.
Yeah. And it's like, I remember when I first moved to LA, I met up with somebody who was like giving me some advice in the industry. And one of the pieces of advice that he gave me was like, as soon as you walk out of an audition, forget about it. And I'm like, okay, that's good advice. But also it kind of bit me in the butt because I didn't know how to grieve any of these very painful experiences of rejection. So for me, they just compounded and got worse and worse and worse. And then it was like, oh, now I have like a panic attack every time I go on an audition. I'm like, I wonder why. Yeah, it's like I never did the work of grieving those things.
Yeah, I would have never thought about that too.
Yeah, but I do think it is important to like have a level of distance with these auditions, but also like, I mean, I say it in the song, like the Bible verse, like hope does not put us to shame.
Right.
And so just this idea, if you have capacity to be hopeful about something, what a beautiful like.
Why not?
Flip the bird to the world.
Yeah.
Like it's, and then Brene Brown talks about that a lot. Horse Girl would not exist without Brene Brown. Let's just be real. But just that, like, the whole daring greatly, like it is not the person in the stands. It's the one in the arena getting his ass kicked. That's like doing the thing. Like he's the one who's daring greatly. Even if you're on the floor covered in spit and blood, like you did. You tried.
You did it.
Yeah. And so Horse Girl's like,
you showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just
I love that.
Honor how courageously you tried. And
that journey, that process is part of it.
Yes.
You always hear, this is a complete left turn. I didn't think we'd get into this, and I love it. But the idea that we have to fail a lot to really understand who we are. And the most interesting people that I've met are really good at failing and learning and then coming back stronger, better, or whatever that means to them. Those are the best conversations I've had. Those are the most inspiring people I've met, are the ones that really know how to, I don't know, take a hit, take a fail, bet on themselves, take that risk, fail, and go and grieve properly. Probably that's probably the best thing to do, and then come back and go, all right, let's do this again. Let's tweak it this way. Yeah.
I think we are so pain averse as a culture that we don't know how to grieve. When things get hard, we're just like, no, I just got to pull myself up by my bootstraps and be good. And like, yeah, there's an element of like, you do need resilience, but you also need like to have space to be like, ow,
yeah,
that hurt. And I probably need some time to heal.
And we probably had very different experiences with that in the culture we grew up in, and being male and female, and our expectations. I felt like there were a lot of times I was told it was kind of
suck it up.
Yeah, it was kind of to use. They would think that they'd make fun of you if you, for sure. And I bet you there's a lot of that still too. I mean, I don't want to say it's unique to my era, but it's interesting. We were in email bands. We were very easily telling people about how we felt,
Yeah.
But
there's still that like protection of cool.
Yeah, there is. It's like showing them enough.
Yeah, like it's like, there's a lot of artists like, they write really sad, drippy songs, but then it's like, it's hard to know what's real and what's not real because they just have this like very cool exterior.
Maybe even some of it's it usually seems to be a facade.
Or just like well-disguised anxiety,
right.
because
right.
if I ever seem cool, I'm just so anxious. That's what it is. No, but for me, being a horse girl and all, not that I was that much of a horse girl, but I like horses, but my brother was deathly allergic, so I actually couldn't be a horse girl in the truest sense. Anyway.
In the truest sense.
But I was a theater kid.
Right.
Like there was nothing cool about, like if you met anybody I went to high school with, they would probably be like, yeah, she's like Rachel Berry from Glee. Like I hope I was nicer, but just like the very earnest.
Right.
And very dorky. Like I just.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean.
But anyway, but cool is sometimes separates us.
Right. Well, I just think we're learning. I would like to think I'm an optimist. If you've watched this, you know that I'm kind of an optimist when it comes to people. I'd like to think that we're getting to a place where those things that used to make us feel like outsiders in the bad way almost make us feel like outsiders in a good way. Like it might be a unique outlook that is celebrated a little bit more than making you feel so out of touch.
Nobody understands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like where it would encourage.
So alone in the world.
where maybe you could still be dramatic, because I think sometimes that's the way we have to express ourselves, but in a healthy way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, wouldn't that be? Yeah. I like that.
Well. Yeah, I mean, we can get into the weeds on that, but just like, all of our phones have just broken our brains, and so none of us have normal brains anymore, so all of us are a little insane now.
Well, okay,
we're all mad here.
Whenever you went from, I like that we're all a little mad too, a little bit. I lean into being the silly a little bit, like, oh, that's unusual. Let's go see what that is. I have that in me too. Yeah. I think we're probably a little similar because we came up in Christian homes, good parents that ultimately I never resented in any way. I thought that they were trying their best to help me express myself in the safest environment that they thought. Yeah. And they didn't always make the right decisions, but they were just making decisions for that time with the information they had at that time. Yeah. Right? And but a lot of but I wasn't allowed to listen to a lot of outside influence until I got into my teen years. Yeah. And then when I found that, they were scrambling trying to get me Christian versions of that so I wouldn't go so far off the deep end.
Yeah.
But, whenever you came to you starting to write music and everything into those maybe high school, more college age years, and you started becoming the artist you are now, like, what did that look like? We're hearing a lot of
sound.
Yeah. I don't know if we're hearing that, but there's a car revving outside.
What's funny is, like, I had a really hard time finding my voice as a singer.
Okay.
And I think part of it is because I'm an actor, and there's a level of chameleon required of you as a vocalist and actor. Like, you have to be able to do a lot of different things well. And so something I struggled to figure out early on was what I wanted my sound to be, because I had such a, like...
You were able to
I had so much
be anything.
Input. Well, and I liked so many different things. And I
didn't think about that.
Yeah. So, and I could do it, like, because I was trained classically. I could do musical theater. I could do pop. I could do indie. I could do CCM. I could do country. Like, I was so hard to figure out what my voice was.
And maybe you wanted to kind of do them all. Right?
Yeah.
There was that's the thing.
And that's another reason I love musical theater is because people are like, oh, do you like singing more or acting more? And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
And I love to dance. Like, I want to do all of it. And I want to paint the sets, because painting is fun. Like, you get to do all of it.
That's great.
With musicals. But that's my, So I was just going to say, finding my sound really happened when I started working with my collaborator, Michael Child.
Who knocked this out of the park, right?
So good. And, we co-produced this, and he mixed it to perfection. Like, I'm just so proud of, like, the work that we did on this. And but in 2020, when I reached out to him, it was just like, hey, I just want to start making music on my own terms. And at the time, I was completely off social media. I had been off, like, I left social media January 2020, so before the world imploded. And then
completely go on.
Yeah, and then I didn't come back on like fully until August of 2023. Oh. So I had a lot of
welcome back.
Thank you. It's hell here.
Missed you. We could tell.
No, I was still there. I was still there. I was just sleuthing on my husband's accounts, you know. Perfect. But I was really self-righteous of like, oh, I'm not on social media. So it was really
loopholes are great.
Yes.
I love a good loophole.
Sorry, I'm like
no, I love it. I think that plus you're on his feet, and it sounds like he gets a lot of wisdom. So I mean, it sounds like he's giving you wisdom.
Oh,
your husband.
Oh yes.
That's what I'm saying. If you're on his feet, you're probably getting a lot of good wisdom.
Oh yeah, he's my husband is the best. Like anybody who knows him is just like
he's great.
He's the coolest dude.
Good style too.
Yeah. Do you hear that, babe?
Yeah, I thought so.
He does.
There's been more than one outfit. I go, all right.
He picks out most of his clothes.
Heck yeah.
I only help out sometimes.
Well, I'm just saying, there's been more than one occasion where I've said to one of them, I've gone, God, I like what he's wearing.
Gosh, Jason's so hot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess. No. Yeah.
I love. Yeah. Anyway, he's the best.
Yeah, of course you love him.
Oh yeah. No, I was gonna say I love how other men love my husband so much, and I was like, that sounds strange.
Well, he's a really good dude.
But he is the best.
Yeah.
He just is.
And you can tell. What were we right before?
We were talking about finding our musical sound, and so I was off social media, sleuthing on his Instagram
That's
accounts.
That's
right. 2020 reached out to Michael, and
I started working on Blue Bonnets.
We actually worked on a different project. So we started my first single that I released with Michael was called California. And so that was a song that I just needed to process my pain.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
So yeah, and the bridge of that song is, it might be hard to tell, but I did try to give him hell.
That's awesome.
You know, I always had a sadness that I could not explain. I was never cool enough to wear it like a name. I live in California because I don't like the rain, and when it's always summer, you don't have to change. So that was like where we started, and because I've always felt good about my lyrics and like melodies and stuff. And
you have great lyrics.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
They're clever.
Thanks.
But you represent yourself and what you're trying to say, at least what I can tell, very well. And I was telling this to I think Eric, but it might have been Johnny too. It's like you're a great storyteller. And
thank you.
If I could be so bold to say, one of your songs made me call my wife and just say, hey, I'm about to be real sappy, but I mean, and I was.
Was it Lie to Me?
Yeah, of course it was. Of course it was.
Again, as my husband loves to call it, throw Jason under the bus song.
Yeah, I told Eric that, and he goes,
Johnny told me that too.
Yeah. I mean, I told Eric that same thing. He goes, it was Lie to Me. So it's clearly you're doing something there, but you did it. It hit me. I was driving and it hit me. I go, I gotta call my wife. I gotta call, and then my son was in there. I go, son, you're gonna hear your dad say some sappy stuff about your mom. I'm sorry, you're gonna hear it.
That makes me so happy.
Yeah, you do a great job. But once again, you wouldn't think. I don't mean this to sound as ignorant as it's gonna sound, but you wouldn't think that you go through my CDs and your album would look like something I would be jamming, right?
Why not?
I know you're right. I think it should, but all I can say is, I related to a lot of your songs. And so you did a very good job at painting a picture. And what's great about it is that I related to it seeing through how maybe I need to see through my wife's eyes a little bit. So I guess the weird way of what I'm saying is it made me understand my wife a little better. So thank you.
Oh, I love that.
You know what I mean? I think it's going to help me love her a little better. If nothing else. Maybe a lot better. I don't know. I mean, you can ask her later.
That's so cool.
And I don't even know what that means. I don't even know what that means. Other than I think there was a moment I had because of your song Lie to Me that I go, hey, just so you know, this sounds so stupid. I feel stupid even saying this.
Tell her she's pretty. Tell her that all other women are not. Tell her that you're so happy with what you have. That's the lyrics.
Yeah. I don't know why it sent me here because I didn't quite say that.
Yeah.
Right? I said, hey, I know that in this journey of life, when we thought about our lives, God, this sounds so silly that I'm saying this on this podcast, but
I bring out the sappiness.
Yeah, I guess so, because I've never done something like this on this podcast.
You need more women, I guess.
I guess so. Maybe we need a little bit more women in our lives. But I said, hey, I know that when we were young and we were talking about the future of our lives and the journeys we'd go on, the adventures we'd go on, I probably had in my mind, and maybe you did too, in your wildest dreams, that we would buy this maybe farm or castle or whatever. And I know we're on a journey to get there, and you'd have your horses and you would live in this. And right now I know we don't have that. So right now I hope my heart's enough. And I hope you know that everything I go for is to give you that, if nothing in it, with my heart being the representation of that. And I said, I know that we're not done, and I know we're a great team, but that song made me say that to my wife. And so I felt, and we had a real moment. And so, and not much art, good art makes you go there. And that might have had a lot to do with the way you did it. But sometimes when you put art out, I think it becomes something more because you did it right. If you did it right, and it becomes someone else's, and it becomes this bridge to bring people together. And that's what that did, I think.
That is like the kindest compliment
well,
I've ever heard. But
sorry,
also,
that was a weird moment.
You're a musician, and you need to write that song for your wife. Like all that you just said, that would be the most beautiful song. And wow, that's such a beautiful.
Well,
sentiment.
I'm just saying,
Thanks for sharing that.
Your songwriting did that, and there's something you have that's special that I haven't heard in a lot of people. That I don't know what it is. It's just you have something that's connecting, maybe almost in a supernatural way, that you should explore. So
thank you.
And that's coming from someone I can be kind of hard on art, and because I expect a lot from it, and I have to sometimes go, hey, you're not the all powerful Oz, like all knowing.
Neither was Oz.
Yeah, he wasn't either, right? But it's hard not to sometimes sound like an authoritarian on something you love so much. But you did a really good job with this record.
Thank you.
So did you, Michael.
Yes, Michael. Yeah, this exists as it does because of like that collaboration. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, you knocked it out of the park. You should be very proud of that product. And I'm sure on top of that, I mean, we probably should wrap it up, and I'll have you back soon. I think this has been a great conversation, but I do want to say one thing. I feel the artwork and everything is a representation of you not only loving, if I could be so bold, learning how to love yourself and who you've become, but also seeing those beautiful things that you've learned to love in yourself in probably your children. And that's very evident in this situation. And I think if that was anywhere in the ballpark of what you're trying to do, you did a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
This album is about, how becoming a mother helped me mother myself.
Yeah.
And like really, so it's me talking to my kids and just like, I think I found my artistic voice because of them. Yeah. Like I found who I wanted to be because it's like I want to be somebody worthy of them, and somebody that they're gonna be like want to be like, and want to. Totally. I don't know. I like becoming a mom. Like it's so funny because in the industry, it's like, oh, like that is the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
As a woman in entertainment,
do you
become
not want to make it?
It's like, well, have fun.
Right.
Like, there goes your career. And I've just found it to be the inverse. Like, I think I found my voice because of what my babies have taught me.
I know, having 4 sons. How many children do you have?
I have 2. I have a 5-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son.
That's so awesome.
They're real cute.
Yeah, when you're talking about connecting with your kids and be somebody that they would want to be, that's our job. Like and that matters. And I think whenever you really have something to say, if something I've learned is like, if my kids can connect with it, I'm doing something right. Like if we all feel respected and they feel loved and heard and we're going towards a greater good, bigger than ourselves, something that empowers everyone. Come on. I mean, that is something there. And I hear that a lot in what you're trying to do and what you did, not trying to do, what you did with that record. So.
Thank you.
Is there anything you want to touch on before we wrap up? I felt like we brushed through a lot of your journey, and
my journey is.
It's not done either.
I feel like I talked in bizarro circles. I was just gonna say, you nailed it on what I was trying to say. So it's so cool to hear that, like, even the album design like spoke to you what I was trying to say, which is like, this is me learning this about myself as I'm teaching it to my daughter, and my son too. Right. But this, I'll just say, like, being away from social media to some extent, like having space to kind of stop the influx of like, this is what you should be doing, this is what's cool. Like, there was something so healing about that space for me as an artist, just to like hear my own internal voice and like figure out what I wanted to make. And what I especially love about this album, like, even if nobody ever heard it, I'm so proud of it. Like, I really made that for me, and I made it for my family and my story. And like, I would make it again, even if it never gets heard, even if none of you guys had heard it. Like, it just, I would do it again. It was just such a gift to get to make.
I hear that you made it yourself for you, and that's why it's so good.
Oh,
I'm serious. Like, and I could tell that maybe Michael made some of that for him too. Like, he saw some of himself and like he took risks. I feel like in a lot of things, I just think you both, everything involved with that is great, and I think you should be very proud. If I can relate a little bit to the, no.
Tell me. No, I want to know.
Well,
they want to know too.
Well, I just think
I only asked you one question.
Well, I mean,
keep going.
I think that I'm at my best whenever I learn to respect, kind of what your husband said, respect the girl that showed up.
Yeah. Honor your horse, girl, Josh.
Yeah. I think when I'm worried about it too much, I do tend to enjoy the process less. I think when I showed up, and I respect the work I've done and the people that believe in me to let me do even this or do that. Why would I second guess? That's calling everybody that's put in the time to believe in me a liar or whatever. I think I surround myself with some great people. Yeah. And so I should rely on the fact that they surround themselves with me.
Yeah.
And believe in the community, in the culture we built. And I think you've done that very well here. And whatever decisions you make in the future as far as artistic endeavors, please keep us notified, because I think you're doing some great things.
Thank you. That reminds me of something my friend Asia said to me recently. I was on the phone, I was talking about it, and I was just like, I always, like, people didn't believe me. She's like, Hannah, I always did. Like, she was just like, yes, we did. Shut up. And I was like, no, you're right. There were those people, and like, it's so easy to get caught up on the like negative voices or the critiques.
Right.
And it's like, actually, there are a lot of people who are for you, and what a gift.
There's something to the fact that you disconnected from social media and probably got some healing, because I can relate to that too. Yeah. Like, when you were saying it, I didn't quite realize it until you kind of said it. You saying it made me realize I got really healthy on all sides, whatever that word means for you. It happened for me when the moment I got locked out for some dumb reason, I still don't know why, of my Facebook. And so I lost my Facebook for 6 months. I couldn't get into it. And it was right before the pandemic. And so I was like, I felt great about it. Like, after a month, I was like, I don't need this anymore.
Yeah.
And then I got healthy. I had less anxiety, less everything. I mean,
same.
And then I started,
I had kids, and then my brain broke, but yeah.
Right. Well, we'll get into that. I just
Next
feel
episode.
like, yeah. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for making Blue Bonnets. Thank you for being honest with your art.
Thank you for listening to it.
Of course.
Thanks for telling your wife that. And telling me that you told your wife that. And
yeah, that's kind of a weird moment. I don't even know why we went there.
That's not weird. Do you know what a gift that is to me as a writer? Glad. And also as somebody who works in ministry and in faith communities, like I always want to take care of people and bless people and serve people. So to hear that doing the thing that I can't help but do, which is to make music that isn't ministry or isn't Christian related, to hear that is having an impact on someone's life and their people they care about. Yeah, it's so affirming of oh, this does matter. This is kingdom work, so to speak, and that just really
and
really
you didn't have to try to shove some agenda. You were yourself, and you did it. You were true to yourself. That's what's so cool. That's what's so cool is that it was authentic to you. It's very your fingerprint. You have a unique thing going on. I can hear hints of really cool artists in there that probably influenced you a little along the way because we're all blenders in a way, right?
Oh yeah, all art is derivative. We are all thieves. We are just very good at hiding our sources.
The best are the greatest are the best at hiding their influences, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
we hide our sources.
But so this podcast is kind of like a bad thing because we want to talk about those influences. But I could hear so many great influences, and I felt I even told Eric, I was like, handful. I keep saying that this wouldn't be, but I saw a lot of myself in that record. I like songs. I was like, I would put this song out. This you have some good songs. So
thank you.
Yeah. We could keep going, but I've kept
Josh
you long enough.
Josh is a horse girl.
That's
what I heard.
I made Eric laugh because immediately I just saw myself with the shirt going, horse girl, right there.
Honestly, I'm getting you all horse girl
okay,
shirts.
It's
happening.
I'd wear it. I'd wear it. If it's cool enough, I'd wear it.
Hey, and it's a song about being brave.
We didn't even talk about Pride and Prejudice.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
We didn't even get to. Well, we only got to my High School Musical influences, which are probably not who are on this album, really. But yeah, I love Jane Austen. I reread Pride and Prejudice every year, and I have since I was 15.
I have a funny story about Pride and Prejudice, but we'll save that for next time.
We'll save that for next time.
All right. Well, thank you so much for showing up to the Youngblood podcast. Go to the show notes. That's your best friend. You're going to see everything we talked about, podcast-wise, and you can find all her music and her art and everything. Hey, thank you guys so much. We clearly have a part 2 in us, so we'll be back soon. All right.
Bye. Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was awesome.